Hi guys, Bomber here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna do a CCC. This week team's CCC was about aesthetics, so you needed to design a card which had the same number recurring on the same card. For example, 3 cost, 3 health points and 3 attacks on turn, whatever. So that was the team. Instead, for the next week's CCC, we're gonna do a VESPITOLE rework. That's gonna be the team. So you need to design a VESPITOLE card and change its effect or whatever, because you think that it may be uninteresting or unbalanced. Probably a bit uninteresting, more going towards that type of thing. For example, if you don't know already, there is going on a discussion on the Discord server about in specifically the war allies, which are a bit too repetitive. The knight is just a better soldier, which is a better militia, and so on. So they are a bit uninteresting, and so for that reason they want to change those cards to make them more interesting. Some other cards could also be your focus on reworking those cards if you think that those type of cards are uninteresting. So you can rework whatever you want on VESPITOLE, but probably you need to know that the war allies are a bit more focused on right now. So you probably want to go for them, or you can do whatever you want and rework a card that you in person think that is not so interesting, and so you want to make it better. So with that said, let's jump into the reviews. So, at the final place, we have a charitable offering from Imaginary MDA. It's a Matrix card from the Conspiracy tab. It costs 7 gold, and it reads, give both players 7 gold, next turn, steal 7 gold, and destroy after use. So, I give this card 1 point out of 5 in design, and 4 points out of 5 in balance, for a final rating of 6 out of 15. And the reason why for those choices is because, first of all, you need to pay 7 gold, but then both players gain 7 gold. And I know that probably that was made because the team was aesthetic, so you needed to make the cost of the card and whatever numbers on it the same. So I get that, but it's probably made in a poor way, because literally this card is just 0 gold in cost, and it could just give your opponent 7 gold. That will make so much more sense. The only thing that will change if it was like I said right now is that with this iteration you actually need to be at 7 gold before buying the charitable offering, and then it actually costs 0 gold, but you need to have 7 gold at least. So that's the only thing that changes if it is not a 0 cost card, like I said. But really, it's in my opinion a really bad design, just to make the cost of the card actually 7, but then it's actually 0 because you gain the gold back. Really, it doesn't make so much sense. And I know that it was made a bit forced by the team of this week, but you need to make ideas which are good and not forced by the team. So that's about it. And also, if it is a charitable offering, then why you are stealing those charitable offering back later on? Really doesn't make so much sense. I know that it is Matrix, so probably they are into that, but really it isn't a charitable offering. If charitable in the probably also if you are then stealing it back. So really, and the other thing is that this card doesn't really work by itself, and it's fine that some cards could be synergistic cards. Look, for example, that coordination. That card doesn't work by itself; it needs support. But really, this card is not so synergy. It's not a synergistic card in the sense that it has a clear synergy. It's just that this card doesn't work by itself, but only works with other cards and not in a synergistic way. It's true that they synergize, obviously, but it's not that clear. So, and for what I mean, let's jump into balance. So this card is actually great, and it's actually fine in balance. Because it's very good with stratagem, because by taking an extra turn, then the next turn steal 7 gold is actually activated 100% of the times. So really great synergy with stratagem. So this card actually reads like you gain 7 gold for 0 gold, because it's really just stealing, but you gave that gold beforehand on the previous turn. So you are actually not stealing, but you're just gaining 7 gold you yourself. So this card is 0 gold, gain 7 gold, which is obviously very good. It needs setup, so with stratagem, but it actually reads on paper 0 gold, gain 7 gold. Then it's also pretty good with Brigand, because if your opponent tries to deny your steal by actually spending the gold and so not giving you back the gold that you gave the turn before, then with Brigands they are an activation pair steal failed. So it's a really great way to activate a Brigand. It's actually a robbery, but 7 times instead of 2, so really great with Brigand also, because if you don't steal, then that's attacks, and if you steal, well, you gain those gold back. And also it's pretty good with clever planning, because you can save it, and then when you play it for free from your hand, when you redraw it, that's another time 7 gold for free. But in any other cases, really, this card, probably your opponent, if he is able to, will spend all his gold, and so then it will deny your stealing, and even if you steal it, it's only you gain gold. So really, I feel that this card is really uninteresting, but actually fine on the balance. But so that's why it's very low on design, but actually pretty fine on balance. Then at the third place we have a Triffination from Green in OTK Gym. It's a Dharma card from the right tab. It costs 3 golds and it reads gain 3 random resources, attack self 3 times, and attack enemies 3 times. So I gave this card 3 points out of 5 in design and 3 points out of 5 in balance for a final rating of 9 out of 15. And the reason why for those choices, talking about the design, the first thing you need to know is Triffination. It's actually a wordplay for Triffination, which was an ancient medical treatment which actually was about opening actually a hole in a skull of a person, and it was believed to actually relieve some stress by doing so. So really, it does fit really well with the Dharmak team. It could be a medical treatment adopted by Dharmak, because really they are savages, they are pretty cruel and brutish, so really the Triffination could actually feel a bit like Dharmak. Then the actual medical treatment is called the Treffination. Instead, this is a Triffination, because since the wordplay is with the trees that appears on the card actually 4 times, so a bit of a miss on the actual full aesthetics. So if it was 3 gold and 3 and 3 only another 2 times, then that was really perfect. And also we have the Dharmak symbol, which has 3 spears on it, so really a pretty very good, well-made card. But what I'm not okay by the design is because looking at the Triffination itself, let's see if the effect actually represents the fact of a Triffination. So you attack self 3 times. That seems pretty thematic, because you are actually opening your skull, so yeah, it hurts a bit, I suppose. So really that's thematic. Then probably the gain 3 random resources is also fine, because you could represent the fact that you are relieving stress by actually gaining resources for yourself, because you are less stressed and whatever. So really gain 3 random resources is still fine. But then I'm not so convinced about the attack enemies 3 times. I could see like you are on a rage rampage after a skull, your skull is opened, and then so you attack for rage your enemies, but really the act of the Triffination itself doesn't seem to hurt your opponent, but actually only yourself. So really attack enemies 3 times is not that thematic in my opinion, and so that's why I detracted 2 points in the design. Instead, for the balance, I actually think that with this iteration it's probably a bit too strong. Attacking 3 times is actually a waylay, but it doesn't destroy itself, so you can redraw it and whatever. So that's 1 more gold than a waylay. And for that, you're also gaining 3 random resources, and it's true that you're attacking yourself 3 times. So if those 2 effects actually cancel out, because you're actually reducing your health point by 3 and your health point of your opponent by 3, so if those 2 effects cancel out, then you're just gaining 3 random resources for 3 gold, and it could be redrawn and stuff. So really, I do think it could probably be too strong. That would need playtesting, but I'm still too much convinced about the fact that it will be too strong, and so that's why I'm not too sure about giving an higher valuation on the balance. And then at the second place we have Elder from Scars, a really bad player. It's a Dharma card from the Slave Staff. It costs 1 gold and it reads on turn, draw a card, and it has 1 health points. So I gave this card 4 points out of 5 in design and 3 points out of 5 in balance for a final rating of 11 out of 15. And the reason why for those choices is because really on the design it's pretty perfect and perfectly made. It's aesthetics in the sense that it costs 1 gold, it draws 1 card and has 1 health point. So on the aesthetics we are on point. Then it also really is well made in the sense that an elder is most of the time someone who has which has knowledge, and so knowledge being represented by drawing cards, so having more options, and so really that's really on point on the design aspect. For the balance, instead, I do think that this card is a bit too weak, because it's true that it pays off for itself after one turn, because in the worst case scenario you are drawing a coin, and so one coin gives you 1 gold, so the elder did cost 0 gold in the end if it survives for a turn, but you also have 1 health points on the board, so really it is already an advantage after 1 turn that it survives. But really, I still do think that it's not worth it, because most of the times the elder will just die. It's pretty weak by itself. You could protect it, but really, probably giving it an on play on turn, draw a card, would be so much better, and actually making this card not overpowered, but pretty strong, because as I say, it pays off for itself the turn that comes out, but could draw you some other stuff, and then for every other turn that it will survive, it just generates you even more value. So that will make it really, really strong, but as said before, not overpowered. Instead, in this iteration, it's probably a bit too weak, in my opinion. And then, at the first place, we have Omen from Rat Elemental. It's an Endazu card from the Goetia tabs. It costs 6 gold and has 0 out of 6 charges. It also reads on hold, lose an health point. It gains 1 charge, and it requires 6 charges to be played. It also continues on play. Opponent loses 6 health, 6 random resources, and discards 6 cards in play. So I gave this card 4 points out of 5 in design and 4 points out of 5 in balance, for a final rating of 12 out of 15. And the reason why for those choices is because really I'm pretty much all fine with all the effect. I do feel like it's really thematic. It does pretty much aesthetics because it's, and also while still being balanced, while keeping all those 6s in the card. It also is particularly thematic in the sense that it is in the Goetia tab, so really, you know, the 666, the evil beast number, which is on Goetia, which is that demonic tab, and so really, I do like the fact that the 6 is being used as the aesthetics for this card. So really perfect on design. The only thing that I will probably change is the lose health points on hold. I do think that is pretty much a really interesting effect, but I don't feel like an Omen, for what I know an Omen is, should let you lose health points. So I do feel like an Omen is something like a premonition, something that is gonna happen. So it is really well represented by the fact that it costs so much turns and times to happen, this Omen to happen. But really, the lose health points, I don't get it. Probably I'm wrong, but I feel like the lose health points, if it is here for a design actually balance aspect, I do still think that this should not be here, because it is not too strong with this without this on the balance side, and really doesn't fit the theme and the design of the card, in my opinion. Instead, for the balance, I think that this card is pretty fine, but again, it's a really complex card that would pretty much need playtesting, and so I'm not 100% sure and convinced about this card is totally balanced. It could be a bit too weak, but probably also a bit too strong. That's probably gonna be the case, in my opinion. But really, I'm not sure about it, and so that would need playtesting. And so for the cards that I think that are balanced but should need playtesting, 4 out of 5 is the way to go, and so this is one of them. So, that's it for this video. Hope you liked it and find it useful. Be sure to leave down below a comment to let me know what you want to see in the next videos, and as always, see ya!